Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. If this is the very first time you're stopping by here and you've never seen my face before, my name is Chioma. Take a moment to say hi in the comment section and I'll come around and give you a high five. Well, in today's video, I want to offer some encouragement alongside tips and strategies, or you might call it advice or recommendations around some of the things that you can do to make your journey easier if you are thinking to migrate to Australia. I know that there's a lot of movement happening in terms of how people are approaching their plans this year. A lot more people have become serious about migrating to Australia. But alongside that observation has also come a realization that some people are approaching their plans wrong. If you've been following me here for a while, then you would know that I am always drumming on about how it is important for you to do your research, right? That is a given. I am never ever going to stop emphasizing on that. But beyond that, there are some other things that you should also give some attention to make your journey smoother. That's what we're going to be discussing in this video. Take a moment to give this video a thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe, you're free to do so at any time in the video. Don't also forget to share this video to other people who will benefit from it. Let's get started. The very first thing I'm going to say to anyone just starting out, anyone who has started considering Australia as an option to migrate to, or maybe you've even started working on your plans. Hold on, before you do anything else, I would advise you to take some time to determine what pathway is best for you, okay? What pathway is right for you? And why I say this is because I feel like people have the tendency to just latch onto one option, maybe because that's the only option they know about, or it's an option that holds some kind of promise to them, and they're hoping against hope, not minding whether they meet requirements or not, that pathway will work for them just as it has worked for other people. When I say this, if I am being completely honest, the pathway that comes to mind is employer sponsorship. That's the 482 visa. My goodness, every time I have made a video about the 482 visa or employer sponsorship, I get a massive response. These are my most viewed videos on this channel, and for good reason too. I mean, the 482 visa comes with a very powerful promise of relocating without spending so much of your own money. Relocating and having a big chunk of that relocation cost covered by your prospective employer. So I understand why people are so fixated on that pathway. My observation is that most of the people who come to watch are just fixated on sending off applications without taking some time to think about whether they meet requirements. Okay. Now, the funny thing is that usually if you will be eligible for employer sponsorship, it is also very possible that you will be eligible to apply for one of the permanent residency visas, which will be the 189 or the 190. But a lot of people do not even know those options. And I have said it on this channel that if I had an option between a permanent residency visa of any kind versus an employer sponsored visa like the 482, which is temporary, I will always go for the permanent residency visa. Yes, I might not be landing in Australia with a job already lined up for me, but I believe that the benefits of being a permanent resident far outweigh the one benefit of having an employer or having someone foot my bills to come into Australia. Yes, I am not saying that it is not significant enough, but I am saying in relation, okay, I'm placing them side by side. I will always go for the permanent residency visa. The fact that I am coming in with peace of mind, knowing that I am never ever going to be concerned about applying for another visa, and especially in the case of the 482, which is employer dependent, you have to please your employer. If your employer is not happy to nominate you towards permanent residency, you're stuck, okay? You will have to scramble around to look for a plan B. What if that business folds up tomorrow? Usually the government will just give you about 28 days to find another job, and it has to be another job on the same visa. So it has to be another job on the same conditions. So anything can happen. Anything can happen on a temporary visa, and then you find yourself stranded. I will always go with a permanent residency visa. Meanwhile, there are some people who do not even know that they have that option, and they're just fixated on the 482 visa because they are not doing their research to find out what other pathways are available and what pathways are actually better for them. Like I said, I have made several videos on this channel about all the popular migration pathways into Australia. Take some time to watch those videos, but beyond that, do your own research and see for yourself. Read up, be really clear on your plans and your goals. Sit down with your partner, your spouse, or someone else within your circle who's got a good head on their shoulders and run your options by them. You know, consult and then see which of these pathways would be best for you. Number 2, focus on meeting requirements above everything else. Requirements, eligibility criteria, these are king. Okay, you cannot go past these things. Like I said previously, if all you are thinking about is sending off an application, you just want a link, give me a link to this employer, give me a link to this visa, give me a link to this, a link to that, those links will not help you if you have not met the requirements. So focus on meeting requirements. And when it comes to Australian migration, there are certain requirements that are standard across board, regardless of the pathway you want to come in through. In most cases, you will need to fulfill requirements surrounding your education, your experience, okay? English language proficiency, that's another big one. And then if you're coming in on a student visa, for instance, you would have to provide proof of funds. There are some other visas that might require proof of funds as well. So focus on getting these things. For education, get your transcripts. Get all certificates you have, relevant certificates. Get all your degrees and things like that. Work experience. You must have pay slips. You must have your tax documents. So a document that shows your tax remittances from your income to the government of your country. Get tax documents. Get an employer reference. Have your employment contracts ready. Make a CV, all right? Something that summarizes your experience in that particular field. Go and take your English test. There's IELTS, there's PTE, there's TOEFL, depending on which one is preferred. Some pathways might have extra requirements to meet on top of the ones that I have just mentioned, but these are like the standards. If you are applying for permanent residency, obviously your skills assessment is a huge thing. You can't get past that. So think about skills assessment. And when I talk about skills assessment, actually, the documents you need for your skills assessment are still some of these documents I have mentioned. Education documents, work experience documents, and English language proficiency. So at the end of the day, you would find that getting these documents ready will help you scale through a lot of the processes surrounding migration, regardless of the visa pathway. Okay, focus on that. Stop asking for links. They will not help you if you're not meeting those requirements. Now, let's talk about the next one, which would be comparing apples and oranges. I know that doesn't make sense, right? But let me explain what I mean. Why I am saying this is for those of you who like to compare countries and their different migration systems. I always get confused when people say things like, the UK is so much easier to migrate to than Australia. Oh, Canada's process is so much easier than the UK. Why are you making that comparison? Like, of what use is that? If you want to go to the UK, go to the UK. If you want to go to Canada, please face Canada. If you want to come to Australia, then be sure that you want to come to Australia. Stop comparing. Yes, I know that sometimes those comparisons are just coming from, a harmless place. But when you have people now sliding into your DMs and asking you questions like, can you give me a link to apply for Australia's carer visa? What are you on about? In the first place, who told you that Australia has a carer visa? You did not even do your research. You just assumed that because the UK has a carer visa pathway, then Australia should have the same thing. I've even had someone who started arguing with themselves in my Instagram DM. Okay, this person asked for a link to apply to Australia's carer visa. And I said, Australia does not have a carer visa. And they went, but the UK has one. I stopped responding. Like, I felt like it was such a waste of my time to even want to educate this person to tell them Australia does not have a carer visa. No, I just deleted the comments because that's a time waster. And do you know that that was not the only person? I've had so many people who come and ask me questions related to Australia's migration system from the perspective of something they know about the UK system or Canada system or another country's system. let's go back to what I said, my very first point here. Decide which pathway is best for you. But on top of that, okay, I would extend that to include making up your mind where you actually want to go. As they say, a rolling stone gathers no moss. Running around without direction, without a plan, I don't see how it is helping you. Stop comparing different countries' migration processes. Stick to one. So let's move on to number 4. Have you liked this video? Let me come closer to your face so that you know I am serious. Please give this video a thumbs up, okay? Thank you very much. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is, and this is one that I feel very strongly about, you do not need an agent. I will say that confidently anywhere. I will say it with my chest, as we say in Nigeria. You do not need an agent. Take that from someone who has applied for a student visa, a post-study work visa, permanent residency visa, citizenship application. I have done all of these things by myself and they've all been successful. If I were an agent, I would have 100% success rate advertised on my website. But I am saying this to you just so that you understand that you do not need an agent. What I usually say to people is take some time, go online, go onto Google. Google is everybody's friend, right? If, for instance, you want to come in here on a student visa, just Google student visa application Australia, or maybe subclass 500 application. And then look at Google Images or find any website that shows you a sample of the application form. Look at those questions and then be honest with yourself. Do you really need an agent to answer those questions? They're asking you for your date of birth, asking you for your country of passport, asking you for your previous level of education, the names of the schools you have attended previously, where you have worked previously. Do you need an agent to answer those questions for you? Because, I don't know, some people tend to think that there is something special agents do for you that you're not able to do for yourself, or that there's a separate system that applications coming through agents would go through, and that separate system will also determine how your application is going to be assessed. Can I burst your bubble here? There is no separate system. IMI account is the lodgement portal for every visa application. In the past, when I applied for my student visa, Australia was still running a paper application system. And can I just say that the paper application was more tedious because you needed to manually fill out a form, which was several pages long, scan that form, upload it onto the website, and then attach your documents. The portal is so easy, okay? You're not filling anything out manually. You're typing your answers into the form. It's just like filling any other form. And it is the same for everybody, regardless of whether you use an agent or not. When you pay an agent, what they do is that they create an account on your behalf and then go through the same portal. That is all they do for you. There's nothing different that an agent is going to be doing for you. The burden of gathering documents, of making sure that your documents are in the right format, will still rest on you. Your agent is not going to go off to the schools you've attended previously to ask for your transcripts. You will still do that work yourself. Your agent is not going to be contacting your employer to provide them with your pay slips. No, you will still do that work yourself. So if you've done all of that, what is so difficult about uploading the same documents onto the immigration portal? You do not need an agent. But I get it. I am not discouraging anyone from using an agent. If you've got the money, please use an agent. But another thing I would say here is make sure that you're verifying the identity of the agent you're using. A lot of people are claiming to be agents. They are not, okay? And outside of Australia here, the migration law in Australia is not actually binding on other agents operating from outside of the country, which means that you have a higher chance of getting scammed outside of Australia when you're engaging someone who claims to be an agent in your home country. So be very careful. That brings me to my last point, which is give yourself time. Give yourself the required time. If you need time to gather documents, give yourself that time. Don't be under pressure. You need time to save money, to apply for this or to apply for that, to pay for this, to pay for that. If you need time to save towards the entire process, give yourself that time you need. Stop being influenced by other people's results and their outcomes. Speaking on this point, I am addressing people coming from Nigeria in particular because a lot of people are operating from a place of desperation. Let me tell you that that is one of the easiest ways to be disappointed, to end up frustrated. I have said it on this channel that it took us a year and a half of planning, of prepping, of putting documents together before we left Nigeria. For some people, it might take longer than that. For some people, it might be shorter than that. Everyone's capacity is different. That's just what I am saying here. Not everyone has all the money that they need. They will need time to save up. Not everybody has the work experience that they need to apply for certain visas, okay? You might be eligible for a permanent residency visa, but the only thing is you just need 1 more year of work experience to meet that last requirement. Give yourself 1 year. Get that work experience done and then apply for permanent residency. Stop being influenced by other people's results. I am targeting Nigerians specifically because I know what's happening in the country. I am Nigerian myself, so I know what's happening in the country. I know that a lot of people are being driven by desperation right now, and for good reason too. I don't blame anybody wanting to leave Nigeria now. Okay, but what I'm saying is that you're probably in a position where people are leaving the country, people you know, people you're close to, people you work with in the office, people you attend the same church with or the same mosque with. Every other week there's some news of someone else who has left, and I know what that can do to your psyche. I know how that can push you into making decisions that are not the best for you, decisions that are not in your best interest. So please give yourself the time. Remember that this is your personal journey. It's an individual thing. And the thing about moving to another country is that not everybody's pathway is going to be the same. You're leaving Nigeria with the hope of becoming a permanent resident and maybe even a citizen in the other country at some point, right? And to a large extent, what determines how soon you will get to that destination actually depends on the planning you did from the very beginning. How solid your plan was from the very beginning. So give yourself time. I promise you, you will not regret it. At the point where you are right now, can you share some of the strategies you've used along the way? Some of the things that you would advise any other person coming through the same pathway on what to do, what not to do? It would be really nice to read your comments. So please do not forget to drop that in the comment section. I have come to the end of this video. Again, take a moment to like this video if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye bye.